Let's go to the introduction to morphemes, the content. Now, the content of morpheme, we are going to tackle introduction to morpheme, types of morphemes, and applications of morpheme. Now, let's take introduction to morpheme. The morpheme is the first rank according to the constituent of relationship, and the last rank according to the consist of relationship in the rank scale. Now, let's look at the definition of morpheme. A morpheme is the smallest meaningful grammatical unit in a language. It consists of linguistic elements that cannot be broken into further units. Now, someone will ask, how can we identify a morpheme? We have three criteria for identifying a morpheme. Number 1, it is a word or part of a word that has meaning. 2, it cannot be divided into smaller meaningful parts without meaningless remainders. 3, it recurs in different word environment with a relatively stable meaning. Now let's look at examples. In English, the word stop cannot be broken into further units, so it's a morpheme. In the same way, the following can be considered morpheme: cat, C-U-T, cat, C-A-T, it, I-T, work, if, and, to, table, etc., etc. can be considered as examples of morpheme. Now, let's go to the types of morphemes. We have so many types of morphemes. Let's consider free morpheme, bound morpheme, full and empty morphemes, prefix and suffix, null morphemes, base or root morphemes. Now let me take you through all these types of morphemes. We have the free morphemes. It refers to the type of morpheme that can stand on its own and make sense. The bound morpheme, the type of morpheme that cannot stand on its own and does not make sense unless they are attached to the base or root morpheme. Full and empty morpheme. Full morpheme, the type of morpheme that has meaning. Empty morpheme refers to the type of morpheme that has no meaning. Prefix and suffix. Prefix, the type of morpheme that precedes the root or the base morpheme. Suffix, the type of morpheme that is added to the end of the base or root morpheme. Null morpheme, it is the type of morpheme that lacks the phonetic form. The base or root morpheme, it is the type of morpheme which also constitutes the free morpheme. Yeah. So we are saying that the base or the root morpheme refers to the actual word that has meaning, can stand on its own. That is the base or the root morpheme. Now there are two basic types of morpheme. The basic types are the free morpheme and then the bound morpheme. Now let's take the free morpheme. The free morpheme is a kind of morpheme which makes sense on its own. Now, types of free morpheme, we have the lexical morpheme, functional morpheme. Now let's take the examples. We have teach, work, week. They are all examples of morphemes that is free. Now let's take the lexical morpheme. The lexical morpheme, the type of morpheme that makes sense or has meaning. That's the lexical morpheme. Example also work, the same thing as the free morpheme. Now functional or grammatical morpheme, that's the type of morpheme that does not make sense unless it is attached to base or root morpheme or root word. So these are the two types of free morpheme. Now let's go to bound morphemes. They are kind of morphemes that cannot make sense on their own. The kind of morpheme that cannot make sense on their own, that is what? Bound morpheme. Now, types of bound morpheme. We have the inflectional morpheme, the derivational morpheme. Let's take them one by one. Inflectional morpheme. Someone might ask, what is inflectional morpheme? Inflectional morpheme refers to the type of morpheme which, when attached to word, does not change the word class of the sentence. That is inflectional morpheme. So example is, you have boy, then you add s to it, boys. Still, the word class has not changed. It is still boys. So you take note, it does not change the word class. Now, derivational morpheme. The type of morpheme which changes the word class. Example, you have boy and you add hood to it, boyhood. It changes the word class from now. So that is derivational morpheme. But we have, under derivational morpheme, we have two types. That's the class changing derivational morpheme and then the class maintaining derivational morpheme. The class changing derivational morpheme, the type of morpheme that changes the word class. Then the class maintaining the type of morpheme that maintains the word class. Now let's look at examples of bound morpheme. We have dancer, work, boxes, warmer, etc., etc. So these are examples of bound morpheme. Now let's continue with how we can identify the number of morphemes in a given word. How can we identify the number of morphemes in a given word? In English, the word stopped is composed of two morphemes, stop plus the past tense maker, that is stop plus ed. In the same vein, the word walked is composed of two morphemes, walk plus past tense maker, that is walk plus ed. Similarly, we can say that went has two morphemes, go plus past tense maker. Sang has two morphemes, sing plus past tense maker. From the discussion above, we can confidently say that verbs in the simple present have two morphemes. Now, how can we apply morphemes, or how are morphemes often used? Let's look at these applications of morphemes. Morphemes are important for phonics in both reading and spelling, as well as in vocabulary and comprehension. So this is trying to tell us that morphemes in our everyday chatting, talking, and doing going out with our friends and all these things, morphemes are used. Even in our sentence that we construct, the way we talk, they are all consist of morphemes. So we should take note about the applications of morphemes. We should take note. Now we are done with the lesson, but you should have these try questions answered for me. These tried questions must be answered for me and send it via my website. Now, question 1. Explain the term morpheme. We've already discussed that. Explain the term morpheme in your own words. 2. State some examples of morphemes. State some examples of morphemes. 3. Try and identify the number of morphemes in the above stated examples. Try and identify the number of morphemes in the above stated examples. 4. Memorize the types of morpheme. Memorize the types of morpheme. Then 5. Per your understanding, figure the importance of morpheme. So please submit it before Wednesday. Thank you for listening to me.